Cathy Brooks here of Guidewire Group for the AlwaysOn Innovation Summit. I've been having such a great time. I'm talking to all of these incredibly cool people. And I'm very excited about talking with Paul Saffo, Silicon Valley forecaster, trends, future, what's happening in the future. But what I want to talk to you about first is from whence we've come. When you look at Silicon Valley and how Silicon Valley has evolved over time, what do you see?
Well, you know, there's a hidden aspect of Silicon Valley people don't think about. Why has it lasted as long as it has? And I think it's lasted not because we've succeeded, but because we fail well. The secret to Silicon Valley is we have figured out failure. We allow people to survive after failure, but there's still consequences to the failure. And I think that's also the key to Silicon Valley's future. If you want to understand innovation and how to make innovation happen, understand failure.
So what does innovation actually mean to you?
You know, it's all that risk stuff and doing new stuff, but it's making mistakes that, you know, you try something, you fall, but you hope you fall forward. And when you pick yourself up, it might end up being a really big thing. And so innovation is paying close attention to earlier failures and saying, did they miss something? You know, or more generally, you know, people say to me, well, how do you pick a success? And you know, everything in Silicon Valley follows an S-curve. But we all look for the inflection point, the takeoff. And everybody forgets there's that long flat line before the inflection point. The simple fact is, even in Silicon Valley, most ideas take 20 years to become an overnight success. So the short answer to the question of how do I find a hit is look for something that's been failing for about 20 years and everybody said, oh yeah, we tried that a million times, it'll never work, forget it, and stuff. Well, that's what Apple did with the iPod, let's face it. That's also how the web took off in Silicon Valley and not in Europe where they don't know how to fail.
Yeah, and push technology, remember when everybody was talking about...
Pointcast at Apple. Yeah. Push was a great idea. Just didn't work in a dial-up world.
Right, and the Newton.
Oh, I love the Newton.
I know, so did I.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them in my closet.
Aren't they? I think they're archaeological.
Oh yeah, if I wanted to, I could sell them for a lot on eBay. I mean, as a technology forecaster, you know, lawyers have little tchotchkes on their desk, blind justice with scales and stuff. I have doomed and failed technologies. You know, old Newtons, products you never saw because mercifully they never made it to market because they remind me the secret to this business is pay close attention to failure.
When you look at some of the technologies and products that have come through the years, what have been some of the greatest surprises to you? Either surprises because they seem to have great promise and just couldn't get off the ground, or because you thought, what the heck is this? And then all of a sudden it got a tailwind.
Well, the one I've been most surprised that never took off is the telephone system I use called Wildfire. I have an agent-based phone system. It was a company called Wildfire in Massachusetts. They've been out of business for many years. Luckily for me, there's a service bureau that still offers Wildfire. Wildfire, life as I know would end without Wildfire. You call it up, very nice agent asks you a couple of questions and decides whether to put you through or not. No human being on this planet knows the number of my cell phone. Only Wildfire does. Really good interface, good voice recognition, telephony. It's really surprised me that nobody's figured out how to do that right at scale. That's been a huge surprise to me.
Well, I mean, you say telephony, which brings up telcos. You know, do they have a role in something like this, I'd imagine?
The problem is that telephone companies are good at failure, but not at good failure. They're good at bad failure. And that's what happened to Wildfire, is it got acquired by one telephone company that was acquired by another telephone company and pushed into oblivion. So I think actually this is a moment where innovation is accelerating precisely because the way companies get big now is by empowering lots of small players. You know, eBay is huge because of those 800,000 sellers. Google is huge because we all search, and every time we click on a search, we're making money for Google. And that keeps companies that are become big from enabling small players from getting insular like the phone companies. And the result is you have cultures like at Google where, you know, engineers with good ideas, you know, if you have a good idea and they prove it, they give you 10,000 computers to run it on. Right. So hopefully this culture of failing forward, you know, fail fast, scale fast, keep moving forward is increasing, which as a property owner in Silicon Valley, I hope it is.
Well, hopefully there won't be an earthquake anytime soon. Something probably shouldn't say that out loud.
Oh, there will be.
Yeah.
It'll be big, but the worst part about earthquakes is LA's on the west side of the fault, we're on the east side, and every time the fault moves, LA gets that much closer to us, and all good San Franciscanos, you know, burn the city down, but don't make LA closer to us.
Well, you know, I know that if there is an earthquake, you will be the person who I call. Hopefully Wildfire Works with your search and rescue capabilities. You'll be the first person I get a hold of, or try to at least.
Yeah.
When you look at entrepreneurship, which is a critical part of innovation, what about the entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, the individuals who are the lifeblood? How have you seen them change as a species, as it were?
You know, it's funny. The details change, but the big pattern stays the same. You know, entrepreneurship is, at some level, irrational. Innovation's irrational. You know, in the biological world, the word for innovation is mutation, and mostly it's lethal. You know, and you only do it under stress when you have to. That what I'm struck by is this: if you pull a thread all the way back to, you know, the start of the Valley, Fred Terman and Shockley and all of that stuff, the similarities are still greater than the differences. It's this spirit of pushing against the order and taking risk. And again, it works here because we have a Goldilocks zone of entrepreneurship. Think of it, if the risk is too high, nobody takes chances because, you know, risk is high, consequence of failure is death. The other extreme is risk is so low, there's no consequences. That would be, you know, intrapreneurship at companies where they pretend to innovate, but, you know, then you don't move forward because there's no resistance. You need an environment where if you fail, there are consequences, but you get to live to try it again another time, and that's exactly what we have in the Valley. And it's not about individuals. I mean, the individual is essential, but not sufficient. It's the network. It's why AlwaysOn works. It's all of these people who support the entrepreneurs, people with money, people with legal skills, banks who are willing to make the loans. It is this very funky ecology built around failing in clever ways.
When you talk about consequences, what do you mean by that?
Well, the consequence, if your company goes belly up, you know, you lose your options, you get a little bit of embarrassment. You know, you do it once and they say, oh, he's seasoned. You do it 3 times in a row, I say, you know, maybe he's just stupid. Yeah, you know. Of course, if you do it a whole bunch of times in a row, then you get to be promoted to that category of, you know, there is this one small group of middle-aged white guys in this valley who've driven everything they've ever touched into the ground, and yet they still seem to get deals and get hired by venture firms. Go figure.
There's probably something I could say, but for the sake of, I don't know, maintaining my own
career. I just want to know how I get one of those
jobs.
Okay,
no, I'd like one of those. I'd like to work less and make more.
Yeah.
I don't think it works that way, though. No. Probably in the wrong line of work.
No, I think, you know, video and blogging, get all those people clicking on your Google ad.
Hear that? Click on my Google ads. Well, Paul, thank you so much. I know you need to get prepared. You've got your panel in a little bit, so get your game face on. We'll be talking about the long bet.
Yeah, no, we're going to have a good session. Nathan Myhrvold is going to talk about his bet with Danny Hillis on whether the universe will stop expanding or not. Should be fun.
That's a webcast I want to watch. Well, Paul, thank you so much
Thank you.
for your time. Cathy Brooks, we've got a couple more coming, so come on back.